Sorry. I didn't think he could get in enough gauge.
Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Halo 5 Legendary Lone Wolf walkthrough. This is mission 14, The Breaking. There's going to be 3 parts to this mission, 3 videos in whole, because I think it needs to be broken up. The mission itself is an endless gauntlet of fights, leading to a boss that is ridiculous. The boss will be isolated on itself, because I think you need that, so that you don't have to sift through all the bullshit. And the gauntlet fights are only challenging because you'll spend more time without good guns than you will with them. I did 2 separate runs of this level. The first one is what you're watching. The second one was a much more optimised, much more relaxed, just a better run, but I didn't capture it because I'm an idiot. And what I was doing is, I got stuck on the final boss, on the final checkpoint, and I couldn't do it. I did it for about an hour, and it was just that thing of like, I think I should play this level again, and then get a better setup going into this final checkpoint, and maybe succeed. Because I'm gonna get it if I stick at it, but it's going to take a long time, and it's going to be nothing to do with me, and everything to do with the game. And I hate that kind of scenario, because it's a war of attrition that is, like, even when you beat it, you don't feel like you won, because it's just not your fault that you die half the time. It's, you know, there's nothing I can do, and I hate saying that, but it's true. There are some moments where you run forward to try and get the only ammo closest, and you instantly die. And you can't see what's killed you, because the time it takes you to turn around is time you need to spend running to the ammo. Like, it's just one of those things. This is not Call of Duty. You cannot spin around in a fraction of a second with really high sensitivity. It doesn't work that way. You know, you can't move as fast as those games in a lot of ways, although they've added the boost and things, which is really useful, but I got a bad spot, so I played the level again to get a better spot, and I wasn't recording, so there was none of the pressure of recording, even though I'm kind of immune to that at this point, but it still sometimes, you know, rears its head, and I had a really good run. Like, I killed everything really effectively. I got some, you know, just really efficient sweeps of every room. Like, I killed things really well, didn't die at all. Died a few times on the recording run, didn't die at all on that particular one, and ended up carrying 5 turrets to the last boss. So all in whole, it was a really great run, and I didn't capture it. So I sound like that guy now, you know, like, my dad works for Chelsea, but you could never ask him if he does. But that's not true. So instead, we're going to do this one, which is me peppering the trigger, taking down the repair douchebags, and we're going to be pushing up slowly but surely past this endless torrent of enemies. There are a couple of caches that have the light gun that are going to really save your life, because the suppressor, or the suppression, the shit gun is what it should be called. It should be called shitession or something. Shitession. You know, just shit is what it should be called, because it's what it is. Like, same with this gun, the bolt gun, or the gun that's not a gun because it doesn't work like a gun and it doesn't feel like a gun, and why am I using this gun? Like, just... And look, shit on the wall. Shit on the wall. Shit on every wall. It's like fucking Mel Gibson's house. It's ridiculous. The only place where there is a good weapon on the wall in this room is where all the bad guys are. Like, it's just so painful. And that's why it's hard. Because they give you shitty tools. And they say a bad craftsman blames his tools, but these guns are shit. They're really shit. They're wonderfully shit. And it wouldn't bother me if they felt good to use, but they don't. Like this, it fires like volleyballs. A group of volleyballs that kind of lock on. And it's got a pretty nice iron sight aimer thing. Like, this gun is not too bad, but I'm out of ammo for it. Now I have both of the shit guns. You know, I have an ensemble of shit. And, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like... It's just like, why am I doing this? It's so painful. But as you push up, and I'm going to push up because these guns are frustrating, you're going to get checkpoints. Was that one? No, it wasn't. We'll get one. And the next stand of weapons has a light rifle. But getting to it can be dangerous, so you really have to commit to this. And you can get shot when you do it, but hopefully they won't shoot you too bad. And then you've got a good gun. So now we have a good gun, this starts to get interesting again, because we can actually kill things. So you want to back up and use distance once again to have the best advantage. And you can go to the other side which is adjacent to the one I was just on, and it will have a refill for this gun. But at this point, I'm going to try my best to clip the knights, get the crit. Sometimes it's really hard to see though. I couldn't quite catch that one. And just try and drop the numbers, but you see those big arcing meteorites, those parabolic blobs of death? They are really, really damaging, and if they come anywhere near you, you have to hold your breath to survive. I think clenching your anus will help, but it doesn't always guarantee survivability. But, like, I don't know, I've been reading people's comments, and it seems like there's a mass consensus that nobody likes not having ammunition, and that a lot of the enemies on this game take far too many shots, but it's just that accepted fact, isn't it, that that's kind of what Halo is. And I appreciate that on other games, when an enemy gets a buff in their HP and their shield and things, it's never something I normally talk about because it just comes with the territory. But I think in a first-person shooter, you feel it more. And I think when you feel it, that's when it becomes a problem. Like, I've been watching back my Transformers Devastation walkthrough on Prime difficulty because I was editing the final few missions last night. It's going to be coming to you soon, that, guys. It's a really fun walkthrough with Bumblebee. The Bumblebee is one of the weaker characters in the game. He's one of the faster ones, and he has an ability to do double vehicle attacks, which is really good if you spec for it. But he's weak, just by default. So I'm attacking these enemies with weapons that are not that high level, with a character that isn't that high level, on the hardest difficulty, and I have to hit them a lot. And recently when I played the game, I have a level 50 SS rank weapon that kills things in like 4 hits. So when I watch these videos and I'm hitting stuff 50 times, it's just like, wow, that is a massive jump to where I am now. So there's a real logical progression in that game of being very powerful. And if you're having any trouble with Transformers Devastation's harder difficulties, just rank your dude up, just get better weapons, just keep upgrading stuff, because it really makes a difference. You'll go from fighting a boss that takes 50 hits to taking less than 5. And it's amazing just how strong you can get, and I love that type of stuff. But I don't think it's going to help you score, in all honesty, unless being fast is the main prerogative of getting good rank, and I don't think it is. I think it's chaining bullshit moves, and I think it's going to be really miserable. But I am going to try it to get that achievement on Commander, and if I have fun doing that, there's a chance I'll probably try an SS rank Prime difficulty, because I love that game, and I want to bring more of it, but I love Bayonetta 2 and I want to bring more of that, and I still haven't done that, so I don't know what will be happening. You know, there's so many games I'd love to cover, guys, but I have to prioritise perhaps ones that I could happily not play, because that's kind of what YouTube is when you're approaching it from a perspective of a business, or a would-be business that you're trying to build. You know, you have to make those professional, objective decisions, and I'm glad I have, because I enjoyed Halo 5 and I've enjoyed Assassin's Creed Syndicate so far, even though they are 2 games that if I wasn't doing this I probably wouldn't have bought. I would have waited to rent them 6 months down the line and happily enjoyed them or disliked them, but it does change things when you do what I do. It probably changes it even more if you do what I do successfully, but I couldn't really talk too much about that as I slap another Kodak in this shitty gun. But I don't know if I've not realised at this point that there is a light rifle refill to my right if I push it strong enough, or maybe that the checkpoint here is one of those checkpoints that's just long enough for me not to want to risk it, so I'm willing to put up with these tippy-tappy rifle bullshit, this fucking Aikido nonsensical fighting technique. Which, have you ever seen those videos? Like, I used to think Aikido was this legit thing, and I think in a lot of ways it might help you over some, inexperienced idiot in a bar fight who just throws Australian punches and doesn't understand how to tuck his chin or anything, but you don't see Aikido dominating in the UFC, which is a multidisciplinary fighting combative sport. So, to say that it's like this lethal fucking awesome technique and the only reason why you don't see it doing well in these sports is because it's too dangerous is the biggest fucking bullshit answer ever. It is the snake oil of the fighting industry, and I absolutely abhor it. And I just think it's fucking stupid. It's like, what's that other one that's really fancy to watch in the films but's probably equally fucking useless? Is it Wing Chun? The one that Ip Man does, where he's doing the, like, smacking the wooden statue thing, and it looks amazing, and I've always wanted to be able to do it. And then you watch these like demonstrations of it, and it's like a ballet. It's 2 people cooperating. It's not a fight. These people aren't fucking trying to kill each other. It's just this one guy who keeps giving him the opportunity to do this fancy tippy-tappy stuff. And I find it wonderful that there's these people who ignorantly think that this shit works. So they're going into these bar fights doing this nonsensical ballet bullshit, and the other person doesn't cooperate, and he just stabs them in the face. And it's really dangerous, you know, if you think you can do something and you provoke or welcome a fight or some kind of violence onto yourself, and that thing that you're doing is this massive placebo bullshit. It's really dangerous. And those people need to, like, go to a fucking gym, dude. Go to an MMA gym, learn about kickboxing, learn about, you know, jiu-jitsu, judo. Just learn about the stuff that is really going to actually help. Wrestling. It might be boring to watch in the UFC, but if you can control somebody with your hips and you get that, you know, that base, that foundation, you can just completely neutralize somebody who wants to throw punches at you. And chances are, if you've been doing wrestling, you're going to be way fitter than some random dude in a club who, you know, touched your woman or thought you touched his woman or whatever. I don't get that fucking... Oh, I do Jeet Kune Do, which... Don't get me wrong, if Bruce Lee was still alive and he continued to evolve it, it would probably be what was in MMA, because if you think about it, Bruce Lee wanted to do everything. He wanted to learn every single discipline, and that's what he did, until unfortunately he passed away. So if he'd have continued and he, you know, branched off and made this kind of octopus of all the styles, Jeet Kune Do could be legitimately great, but as it stands, what does it even mean? It's like when people say Kung Fu, like Kung Fu is a style. Or when they say martial arts, like it's kickboxing or taekwondo. Martial arts is just like the name for a fighting art. It's for a style, isn't it? It's not a fucking thing. Like you say you do judo, you don't say you do I do martial arts. Well, which one? Martial arts. Like, no, that's like a big umbrella phrase for the whole thing. Like, which one do you actually do? Martial arts. You know, fucking Steven Seagal in it up all day. Master of Aikido, and all he does is get his student to walk up to him and give him his hand so he can do all that fancy tap chuck you on the mat bullshit. But there are people that actually believe that stuff as well. It's kind of scary. But then again, the stuff that people believe in, you know, you'd lose sleep if you thought about it too much. I just find it wonderful when you watch those videos, and there's these fantastic ones where you get like legit karate guy versus grandmaster Wing Chun dude or Aikido guy, and they walk together and the karate guy just kicks him in the face. And it's over because the dude's not used to being hit because all his students fucking fall down. Like those styles where they do the like magic fist bullshit where they attack people with air. You know, where the students are so sycophantic and worship the mentor so much that they believe it. So all he does is like swipe towards them and his chi knocks them over. like Dragon Ball Z bullshit. But these people do it, and they facilitate more of it because they're essentially complicit with it. It's ridiculous. It's so dumb. If you've never seen this, guys, just search like fucking Aikido fail or something, or something along those lines. I went on a massive anti-Steven Seagal binge the other day on YouTube. It was hilarious. There was a picture which I used for the Conquer Collateral video. It's in like 92, and Steven Seagal has almost no hair on the top of his head. So that dude's been penning in the gaps for so many years, and at this point it looks like fucking velour. It looks like somebody's tailored his forehead. It's ridiculous. Because if you don't know, Steven Seagal could be the biggest con man you've never realised was a con man. And I loved him when I was a kid. I thought he was amazing. You know, those early films, I thought he was an absolute boss. And then I began to realise, you know, bit of a dick, bit of a douche, just terrible films. And then he took credit for inventing the front kick when Anderson Silva knocked out Vitor Belfort. And I'm sorry, dude. Like, come the fuck on. Those kicks have been around for years. In almost every discipline. You didn't invent shit, you lying fat fucking wardrobe of leather. Like, this is a dude who has lied about being in the CIA, about being in the fucking Navy SEALs, about knowing the guy who invented Aikido, even though he wasn't even old enough when that guy was alive to have even come close to meeting him. Like, the dude is a fucking pathological liar. And not only that, he is a womanizing rapist too, although, you know, we don't really know too much about that. Essentially, he is a sex offender against women. He's a nasty human being, and he has an ego to match it. He's a terrible singer. He's just an egomaniac, and I never even realised just how bad this guy was. Like, There are so many people he's paid off because he asked them to do indecent things. And I say people, women. Women who came to his house for auditions to movie parts where he wanted to see their tits or he wanted them to strip off even though the role had nothing to do with that. Like, all kinds of real bad things. The dude's a fucking human piece of shit. And I think it's hilarious because he's getting so fat. He just gets wider. And I've took it on myself to watch his straight-to-DVD horseshit films because they're so good. In the worst possible way. Like, he kicks everyone's ass and he barely moves because he can't. It's amazing. And then he does those hilarious interviews with like Piers Morgan where he goes, "Are you still lethal? Are you still dangerous?" And he does this ridiculous look. As if to say, "Are you smoking crack? I'm a killer." It's so good. But the dude is a liar. He's just a pathological liar and it's so entertaining. And I don't want to destroy anybody's love for Steven Seagal, but he is not somebody anybody should idolise because he is a scatological miracle of life. But on this sequence here, folks, there's going to be a couple of guys with turrets, so you want to maximise your headshots and get the crit to kill them. And just push up slowly, carry the turrets with you, use your cover, you know, be creative. But I just found it really, really strange that there were so many accounts of this happening, and it's the type of stuff you've never heard because, of course, Steven Seagal's agent buries this kind of stuff. And then there's all these stories, these weird stories that crop up when you search. And I dug deep, guys. I found all kinds of weird stuff. John Leguizamo, or whatever he's called, a really great actor. Love everything about him. He seems like a really cool dude. He played Luigi in the horrendous Mario Brothers film, which I still love, so fuck you haters. But he was on set with him on Executive Decision, and I don't know if you've seen this film with Kurt Russell. I think it's the only film where Steven Seagal has died, and he dies really early on. It's hilarious. He falls between planes. It's glorious. But he plays this captain of the Navy SEALs, this, you know, takes no shit hard man who just gets killed early. And apparently on set, Steven Seagal said that he was the boss and that everybody should look up to him and respect him and show his authority. John Leguizamo laughed because he thought he was joking with him, and Steven Seagal punched him. Like, straight up punched him. No cameras rolling, none of that, just a big ol' egotistical dick move. Like, who fucking does that? How bad is that? And there's so many other ones. DMX hated working with him with exit wounds, absolutely hated it. Is it Tom Arnold, the guy who was in, is it Glimmerman with him? The guy who was in True Lies, the really funny kind of chubby guy, sidekick dude. I love that dude. I think he's a comedian as well. He was going on how there was a scene in that film where Steven Seagal went to walk out a door at the end of a scene and it went nowhere. It actually led out onto the front of a bay and he fell into the sea. And all of his like penned-in fake hair ran down his face. And he had to do the walk of shame. But the guy is just... he's a maniac. He's an absolute maniac. Oh, there's so many great videos as well of him, you know, in performing his blues/jazz band thing that he does, where he's playing guitar and singing, and there's a moment where he stops playing guitar and singing, and it keeps playing guitar and singing, because he's not actually singing, like, this guy. And also there's a lot of pretty funny interviews on, is it Howard Stern? He's ripped into Seagal a few times, but I just find it really fun. And of course there's his hilarious run, which is hilarious, but how do you learn to run like that? I know running is a personal thing. You do the thing that, you know, comes most natural to you, which to me is just kind of, I have my hands in a fist and they pump back and forth in front of me. There's no, you know, nothing fancy. I didn't discover it. I didn't think to do it. I just kind of did it. But Steven Seagal, like, does this weird chicken flail thing, and it looks so funny. But then I went from there to interviews of, like, Jean-Claude Van Damme, when his movies had just come out, back when they'd just come out, on all these different shows, and listening to him promote them and stuff. And just listening, you know, to some of the ignorant comments when people are doing the whole thing of, they're seeing you kill a lot of people, Jean-Claude. Do you think it's encouraging children to kill people? And Van Damme's like, well, it's actually just a theater, you know? I like to kick, but I'm also really nice. And watch my movie. And you're just sitting there thinking, like, why does he have to answer this kind of bullshit? But it always happens that way. And it made me wish that Van Damme had a better answer, but he didn't. So he went on to say, like, that he brought a bunch of kids from, like, the fucking Make-A-Wish Foundation onto the set and showed them that nobody was dying. And I don't know, it's just... those are the type of questions that I would really like to get asked, because I like to think that I could word myself in such a way that I could make the person who asked it seem stupid. And if you can do that in front of a studio audience and you can get some sympathy, you win. But that's a bullshit question. Absolute bullshit question. They're all bullshit questions. Like, can you remember when Ron Jeremy tried to make out that video games were worse for society than pornography? That they were doing more damage to children and all this kind of stuff? It's like, come on now, son. I love both video games and pornography, and I think that they are both victimized in modern media and will forever be so because they're counterculture in certain ways, but they're getting a lot more mainstream now. But come on now. You don't get any, like, young abused girls getting completely disenfranchised and exploited in video games, do you? Like, I don't really see that angle of it. There are a lot of creative people getting exploited by a lot of sneaky publishers, and there's probably a lot of the behind-the-scenes bullshit, but if you're trying to somehow infer that a kid who plays a video game is going to go out and murder and rape people and have a worse effect than perhaps somebody who watches a pornographic movie and has absolutely no context of what the hell's happening and then tries to go out and rape somebody, like, I don't see the argument there. It seems really bizarre to me. And I don't think that is the impact that those products have. I don't think it's directly on the user. Because the people who play a video game and then go out and shoot up a school are fucking maniacs. They're gonna do that anyway. The people who watch pornography and see, like, rough pornography and want to do that and go out and rape somebody are people who would have probably seen an ad for fucking tampons or water sports, and, well, that's not really an ad that you'd get, but, you know, an actual water sport, you filthy bastards. But just people who would do that anyway because they're crazy and they're just ridiculous monsters. Like, I don't think they needed the encouragement, I just think they needed the opportunity, and people blamed the video games for it. If anything, when you're going to look at the damage of these two products, it's there and it's right there right then. Like, it's the people being exploited to make the products, you know? It's those porn stars that give those interviews saying that they felt like they'd been in a car crash after a gangbang, or they couldn't sit down for a week because they'd been torn and stuff. You know, those horrendously biased kind of sections that you see on the news and stuff. Like, I've seen a lot of respectable people in porn who give nothing but great things about it, and I've also seen a lot of terrible ones, like, but isn't that every industry and everything? You have good experiences, you have bad experiences. Look at drugs. Good experiences, all that great music, all those creative ventures, you know, seeing the sky split and pyramids descend. Bad experiences. Father of 5 climbs up scaffolding and jumps off thinking he can fly. That is a fucking dumb father. Those children have been saved from an idiot. Like, good and bad experiences both ways. It's everything, that, and I think to just scapegoat it is profoundly negative, is hilarious. And I watch a lot of pornography documentaries. You probably thought I was going to stop there, didn't you? Which is not an omission, it's a fact. But I watch a ton of them because I'm always fascinated by it, because it's so easy to just choose it. It's just scapegoated all the time, you know? It's like Marilyn Manson and Judas Priest or metal music, alternative music. Anything that's not popular culture is destroying our children. You know, games are destroying our children, porn is destroying our children. Madonna, at one point, was destroying our children because she had a black Jesus in a video, and heaven forbid Jesus is black, even though he came from the country that's hot as fuck, and he probably really tanned, you stupid, white, obsessed people. But, like, these documentaries that you watch are either really good, or they're completely anti-porn. There's no middle grounds. There really isn't, and there are these really cool stories and inspiring stories in pornography, and then there are the really terrible ones, and it all depends on how the documentary makers put them together. So it's very difficult to have a full grasp of exactly what is happening, but if you follow any of these female stars on Twitter, you'll see that they're not being forced to do these acts, they're not taking, you know, profound displeasure from it and slaves to the money. They're business women. Business women who realise that they have this asset that they can use for a certain amount of time, and that they can save this money that they're getting because they're getting paid quite well, and it's going to fund their dreams or their education, and they're going to have a future in something else, because by the time that they leave the industry, porn might not be this massive stigma that stops everybody from getting a job. Because look at tattoos. Oh, you can't get a job if you've got a tattoo on your forehead. Well, you probably still can't, but, you know, like, tattoos used to be a big no-no. You couldn't do it on your arms unless you had to cover it. Like, if you had it anywhere you couldn't cover, you weren't going to get a job. And now that's prejudicial, that's, you know, discrimination, so that's going away. And I'm hoping just this shame, this ingrained fear and shame of all things sexual, this essential religious repression and its effect on the world, I hope it fucks off. And I hope it does it sooner rather than later, because it's destroying us as a society, and it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I just hate it when games get unjustly victimised. Like, there are games that deserve to be outed and saying that it doesn't have as much creative merit as it should. Like, I was never against Manhunt being criticised because I think that is a game that is essentially glorifying murdering, and there is a decent stealth game built into it, but a lot of the things you do for the purpose of just doing exactly that. It's the same argument against that game that was called Hatred. It was a game that on its own wasn't very good, but the fact that it was this controversial murder simulator was the reason why it got attention, and it was making a game and using creative effort for the wrong reasons. And I just hate. And I'm just not a big fan of ignorance unless you're using it for joking purposes or to make somebody laugh. Because then it's just a profound lack of understanding, and then it depends on who you are whether or not you want to change that, and a lot of people just don't care. You'd be surprised how many people couldn't care less. But thank you very much for watching. I will see you in part 2, and I will be speaking a little bit more about the game, because it's going to be getting a little bit more serious, and then when the boss fight happens, we're definitely going to be talking about the game, because that is not easy, guys.